Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to cover common relationship questions about healthy dating. I get asked a tremendous amount of questions, and I've been sharing sort of a series of videos about like what happens when you become securely attached or secure videos, how often people argue when they're securely attached, all these different things, because I've had so many questions coming in about like, what is secure dating? What does it look like for those of us who are maybe new to our attachment style introduction, changing, transformation, and really wanting to see what it looks like on the other side. And as I mentioned in one of the previous videos, sometimes what happens is if we are insecurely attached, because we tend to develop our attachment style at such an early age, and of course, it can change later. It can change through repeated exposure to different really healthy relationships or really unhealthy relationships. But because we tend to develop that primary attachment style at a young age, what ends up happening is that usually means those of us who are insecurely attached also don't usually have very good modeling for what it means to be in a really committed, close relationship, right? In a healthy way. So you often didn't have caregivers who were like showing to you really healthy behaviors. So what I want to do as a result of that is cover a whole bunch of info today of just commonly asked questions. And I'll do a part 2 for like later in the relationship. But in this video, we're really going to cover the dating stage specifically and common questions I get in that stage. Also, if you want to do a deeper dive into this, or you also want to do a deep dive into relationship dynamics between like the fearful avoidant and DA, the DA and AP, the AP and the FA, all the different dynamics and styles, we have all those live courses now in our dashboard of PDS. And we have a 14-day free trial that you can join literally for the entire month of May. And in that 14 days, you will get a chance to go through many courses. You can check out every single course that's in there. You can download some of the workbooks, go through some of the exercises, take a course, at least one, if not two, in that time frame, start to finish, and check out our different webinars and live weekly events that we have. And we're just doing this as a one-off for Mental Health Month for May. So you can use that link below if you're interested. So one of the first questions I get that's most commonly asked is, can I be myself when I'm seeing somebody in the dating stage or when I'm first starting to date? And, I know that it's normal to a certain degree for all of us to like be on our best behavior when we first date and when we're first getting to know somebody. And that's fine. I mean, that's to be expected to a certain degree, but it is so important to be yourself as you start dating. It's so important to be truthful about your likes, your dislikes, your boundaries, the things that are important to you in relationships, the things that are not important to you. And for those of you who might be anxious, preoccupied, or fearful, avoidant with that anxious side, sometimes I know that it can seem like, oh my gosh, not people pleasing or having a different opinion can, push somebody away or make them think we're too different or that we don't have enough similarities. But it's really quite the opposite. People are attracted, especially in the dating stage, to a strong sense of self. That doesn't mean like strong, intense energy. Like it doesn't have to be that you are, coming across as that you have no weaknesses, but I mean that people are attracted to qualities in people and things that are different than them. Part of what creates attraction at the subconscious level is people expressing your repressed traits. And so when you establish your own opinions, your own identity, your independence, and you don't become overly agreeable, when you stand in your truth and you really express what that truth is, not only do you make the different stages to come in the relationship as you keep getting to know each other so much easier because you've been in alignment and authentic the entire time, but it's also more of an attractive trait according to the major things, one of the 3 major things that creates attraction at the subconscious level to begin with. So it's such an important thing to really do. The next question that I see here is, should I trust the person I'm seeing? And I think this is a fantastic question. And I talk about this a lot in PDS, and this obviously especially applies to fearful avoidant attachment style individuals. But everybody can struggle with trust in different ways. DAs can struggle trusting that they can be open with somebody and vulnerable. APs can struggle to trust that somebody will stick around long term. So what is important here is to recognize that everybody has a baseline of trust. This is what I call our internal trust baseline. And this baseline of trust is usually based on our past experiences. So if I grew up in a dynamic where there was so much distrust happening, obviously as a byproduct of being exposed through repetition plus emotion to a lot of things that shake up my ability to trust, I'm going to have an internal trust baseline that's a little bit fragmented, right? And then I'm going to go into relationships and not want to be super vulnerable, not want to invest my trust in other people too easily. But at the same time, as we have a personal internal trust baseline that is ours to be accountable for and to work on actually repairing if we are stuck so that we can be open to having healthy relationships instead of sort of self-sabotage at a subconscious level and keep ourselves closed off to even that option. At the same time, trust is also earned. So I like to think of these things as going together. We have an internal baseline of trust, which we want to make sure is in a stable place, but it's also really important in the dating stage of relationships to properly vet people, to take our time and see like, what are our standards in a relationship? And as I get to know somebody, is somebody meeting these standards in a healthy way? Not expectations. Those are things I'll communicate, but standards. Is somebody respectful of my boundaries? Do I get along with somebody? Do I enjoy spending time with them? Are they, all these things that are important to me as a person, if I've defined them ahead of time, then I'm able to use that stage of dating to really get to know whether that's true or not. And how does somebody act in challenging situations, And as people show up, they do good by you, they're consistent, they're congruent, they're honest, they're forthcoming about stuff. And as you sort of weather life's little storms together in that early stage where that relationship is budding, well, that's the place that you get to earn more and more trust with a person. So it's really both. It's about us being accountable. And by the way, if you want to do work on trust in that 14-day challenge, do the overcoming broken trust. And I forget the title exactly because my team renames them, but it's like repairing broken trust and overcoming jealousy or something like that. But it's all about reprogramming your internal trust baseline and then also having really powerful tools to deal with if you feel jealous in a relationship as a whole. Okay, the next question I see here is, what should I do if I think I'm in an unhealthy relationship? Or if the person I'm dating is not that healthy? And here's what I would say. The first thing that's going to be really important in the dating stage is to take yourself into consideration. And I don't mean this from like a selfish place. I am all for like, having a really open heart, really being like available to people and kind. But I think that something that can happen is if we're dating somebody, even if you have really strong feelings and strong attraction, if you're dating somebody and you feel like a lot of their behaviors are unhealthy, the very first thing you have a duty to do is establish like, what degree of unhealthy are we talking about here? Are we talking about that somebody's a little bit clingy when they feel nervous or anxious? Or are we talking about people who really raise their voice, show like sort of scary tendencies, at a very early stage of dating? And if we're talking about something that we think is unhealthy because it's like that person's unhealthy coping mechanism, like let's say they're a little bit too clingy, they call a couple times too much when you haven't seen them, the first thing in that case, if it's like, just something that isn't a preferential boundary being respected or something like that, you have to communicate your need. And you have to state that need. And I highly recommend like doing that from a distance first. If you're not sure about like the overall well-being of the relationship, do it from like a phone or a phone call and just let somebody know, hey, like I have a boundary, and this is what my boundary is. And it's important that you respect it. And then wait to see if the person actually follows through to respect that boundary. And if they don't, then it's really important that you take a step back. And even if you're really interested in somebody, if you see people with behaviors that are red flags, and then you don't, and then you set your boundaries and you see those boundaries through and you communicate them more than once and they keep getting violated, unfortunately, as amazing as that person might be, they're probably not ready for a truly healthy relationship right now, which means it kind of goes one of two ways in relationship dynamics. Either one person's really secure and healthy and leads by example, and the other person listens to that person. And I don't mean like follows all their directions or becomes a subordinate to them, but I mean that when that secure person states the boundary and communicates a need, this person gets on board and they make the effort, and eventually they really grow together. And the insecurely attached person or the person with unhealthier tendencies becomes sort of healed and healthier through that growth together. But the other version of this is that we have one person who is, really trying to work towards becoming more secure in their life and relationships. And the other person, is not participating and violates the boundaries and doesn't meet the needs and doesn't show up. And eventually, if this healthier person stays, it actually reprograms the healthier person to become more and more unhealthy because, we spend so much time around romantic partnerships. And so repetition plus emotion is part of what creates new programming. And so if we get a lot of repetitive negative input or unhealthy input and we keep sticking around for it, eventually it does wear off on our subconscious mind as well at the same time. So it's really important to set those boundaries, establish those boundaries when we see those unhealthy behaviors or red flags. And if we don't see a change within a very reasonable period of time, or if we don't see like, oh, it's just a mistake, and I set a boundary and that boundary was then followed through upon, and I see that person really showing up and trying, then it's really important to consider, moving your time and your life energy in a different direction as a whole. And the next question I see here is, should I be vulnerable about my feelings? And if so, when? So this is another really great question, and I'll leave this as the last question to wrap the video for today. But, the answer is yes, be vulnerable, be yourself. Of course, if you're having like really strong feelings for somebody, and let's say they're limerence feelings, and if you're not sure about what limerence is, you can check out other videos on this channel. But like, if we have like extreme infatuation, you may not want to tell somebody like, I'm in love with you, and it's been like 2 dates, we may get into like love bombing territory at that point. And I do believe that, similar to trust, we have like sort of a baseline of attraction we can feel. But I also believe that like really falling in love with somebody also requires a bond to be built. We can fall in love with somebody's the perceptions or projections that we put on a person based on the small amount of information we have. But I think, that's sort of still in this like more superficial way, right? We haven't fallen in love with the person's flaws yet. We don't even know what those flaws are. It's really early in the dating stage. We haven't fallen in love with, their quirks and their little nuances as a person. So oftentimes, sometimes when we're getting such strong feelings really, really early on, sometimes it's more limerence based. And sometimes as well, what that means is that we're sort of projecting ideas or concepts onto a person. Like maybe we really want somebody who's going to make us feel seen, and somebody who was present once, and we're like, they always make me feel seen. They're going to forever make me feel seen. But maybe we haven't seen that person under stress yet. Maybe they really withdraw under stress and they're not as available. So, I think it's important that we leave time for that bond to grow, that information to come out, to really see where somebody's at and what they're available to give to us, and vice versa. But, I think it's really healthy to express feelings when you have them. And I think that expressing them in these really strong ways doesn't have to mean that that's like the healthiest form of expression. I think if we have really strong feelings that are super strong, super fast, it may be worth doing a little bit of work on any underlying limerence, but also letting somebody know that we're interested. Being vulnerable is really important. And I know it can be scary sometimes. And I'm not saying like be super vulnerable immediately, like 12 out of 10, tell somebody all of your life stories and your worst fears on the first date. That comes with earning trust. That comes with vetting the person and realizing that that person's worth opening up to, worth sharing with. And that you can trust that person with what you are sharing with them. So that's definitely earned and through a little bit of consistency over time. But, I've seen a lot of people over the years say, oh, I'm not going to be vulnerable because I'm scared that I'm going to be rejected. And so then they get into a position where they aren't vulnerable and they won't share how they're feeling. And then, eventually the person on the other end, maybe they were never really that there for the relationship. Maybe they weren't in a place where they were ready and available for a relationship, but because they never had that conversation 2 months prior, that person who had those strong feelings got dragged along for that 2 months, where if they just had a conversation, said, hey, I'm really interested and excited to see where this goes. If even just something like that was stated, where there was a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of truth, a little bit of sharing like a person's intentions in just a healthy, non-pressuring way, if that's not there, then sometimes what can happen instead is we see that there's this gray area, and then that just like drags out what could have just been dealt with, and those expectations could have been managed from having a conversation earlier on, and then seeing like, you know what, the person didn't really respond the way I was hoping them to. I'll keep seeing where this is going, but if I don't see the person's investing in the same way as me and isn't interested in the same things, then I also can value my own time enough to sort of cut it off, and set a boundary around them, and move into a direction of somebody sharing the things that I do want to have out of a relationship or a dating situation right now. And of course, this is really dependent on each individual and what their needs are and what their priorities are and intentions are when getting into dating. But I just think if we don't express things, that we just leave ourselves with like a lot more gray areas, a lot more misunderstandings, a lot less intentionality in what we're doing. And we usually get the information long-term the hard way instead. So it's always useful to really share up front in a healthy, grounded way, doing the work on whatever those internal feelings are and being aware of what they're telling you as well, as early as the dating stage of relationships. So I hope this makes sense. I'm going to do other videos. If you have other questions for me too, please put them below. Like, what are your questions about dating? What are your questions about healthy relationships? What are your questions about what this should look like? What commitment should look like? I get so many questions from people, and I'm just going to collect them and go through and answer them about like healthy dating, healthy relationships as a whole. So hopefully this makes sense. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.